Hello there, everybody. This is Alex from Hardcorian Guides, bringing my guide for South Park: The Stick of Truth on hardcore difficulty. No healing, no items, and no child left behind. I'm gonna mess up that order every time. Today we're doing day 1, episode or chapter 2 or mission 2, whatever. Attack the School, I think it's called. I might not actually remember all the names of everything that goes on, so I'll just call it by like whatever dungeon it is. But anyway, this is the first of our new enemy type, which is the Ginger type. And the Hall Monitor is relatively easy. They're, I think, weak to Holy and Fire. So, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's just an unavoidable fight. It's not really much of a mini-boss or a boss or anything of that sort. So, yeah. But there will be a boss fight, of course. And this is actually a relative... Whoa, that was loud. This is actually a relatively short dungeon, so nothing too crazy or too big to go on here. And luckily for us, most of the KOs or kills or whatever we're doing will actually end up being from objects around the field and not necessarily from fights themselves. You will return to the school later on. However, when you do come back to the school, it will be a little bit longer and a lot more fights. But for now, we can use most of the environment to our advantage. I'm whipping out Kenny because, to save time. I mean, you're gonna have to whip him out and use his buddy ability and outside of combat, anyway. So, which essentially just charms the enemies and what have you. Which it's kind of cool how like it sort of coincides with how they work inside battle and outside of battle, because Kenny's charm ability inside of battle is essentially just, showing them his titties, and then from there he gives them a tack down. But outside of battle, he knocks them out. So, of course, buddy abilities are hardly ever used. I mean, I don't even know if you even get to use Cartman or even... Yeah, you can't really use Cartman or Kyle for anything outside of battle, if I'm not mistaken, because Cartman's ability is essentially throwing a maxi pad at somebody, and I don't see how that would be useful for anything. And then Kyle just rallies up, and he gives you like ability up and I think attack up. So it's just essentially just him saying like, let's do this. So anyway, here we go. We have the Ginger Hall Pass Police, and the Hall Monitors are weak to Holy, and then the police are weak to yeah, the security and all that are weak to Holy, and these guys, and this one specifically is weak to Fire. So yeah, the Hall Pass Police, sorry. Now, the Hall Pass Police usually show up with a shield in hand, which is a nice little indicator that they're going to have shields anyway. So, I just kind of like that little type of stuff where they just show off, like, here you go. But yeah, I figured I might as well also just show off Kenny in general. But that's also random what type of disease we're going to get. It doesn't matter much. It's just flavor text. It's nothing specific. But essentially it works as just a gross out. And then with Kenny's attack, every time that the heart shows up, I don't know if it works in a way of like waiting for it to slightly disappear, or if it really matters when you hit the X button again. But for me, it works all the time. I don't really use Kenny that much. I'm not a good Kenny player anyway, so. But you typically get an extra attack. It tells you that, and I think most of the time it works out just fine. But anyway, so we got the Missile of Slowing. And even though it is weaker than our weapon we have now, I recommend equipping it, because anything that causes slowdown is a pretty damn good ability. Shock and Fire and Gross Out and all that and Bleeding aren't really like what I would consider high tier type stuff. I mean, they're great when you stack Burning. I don't know if you can stack Burning. I think it's just Bleeding that you can stack. But the reason why Frost is so good is because you basically just get sort of a free stun that lasts for a good while, and it usually makes it to where, and I explained this in the last video, where you get slowed down and you waste a turn like every other turn or so, and that's pretty damn good, trust me. The only time that Shock ever comes in handy is if somebody's like weak to it, which will of course be the visitors. So once we get once we finish off day 1 and we're heading into day 2 is when we're gonna have the visitor dungeon show up, so the UFO dungeon, or at least in this game's case, when it crash lands, a giant Taco Bell cover-up type thing. So, oh no, sorry, it was a Taco Bell KFC combo cover-up. Yeah, that's that's what it was, I guess. But yeah, okay, so they're just showing off buddy abilities, nothing specific. You can actually wipe out the entire group of kids in this single room. It's crazy. That's why I kind of like this dungeon is because you can just eliminate most of these fights. And then in the next dungeon, which is the Giggling Donkey, that's another cool dungeon. That's kind of like it's slightly become more of a favorite the more I play the game. But it's very unfortunate that there's a character that shows up there's a new enemy that shows up in Giggling Donkey, but he only shows up once. And I think he's probably like a mini boss fight. He's not really much of a boss fight because you can use a summon in this fight, which I ended up doing, but it's the anti-magician or anti-magic elf. And it's like, that's such a cool-ass idea, but they only use it once, and that sucks, because it's like, I think the idea of having like a anti-magic user would be actually pretty interesting to see. Funny enough, I've actually done this playthrough twice now without using items and all that other stuff, and I haven't been able to use my magic. So, by magic, I mean like the actual in-game magic, not abilities, but magic, as in like fart magic. So, I haven't been using that because, well, in my first playthrough, I did it anyway, just because. I just forgot about, you know, the final boss fight, and then I ended up having to use an item, and I tried going through this game without using any of my you know, mana in general, and I ended up not having enough mana at the end of the game anyway. It's because I think they give you like 30 or even 20 mana or something. I don't know exactly, but it's just not enough, because the reason why I know that is because magic has cost, and Dragon Shout is at least 40 mana. So I'm not exactly 100% sure on all the specifics, but that's as far as I'm aware. And I'm just going off that on the top of my head. Anyway, so now we get to fight the hallway monitor boss, and he's a little tanky. He has a lot of health and just a decent amount of armor. Nothing specifically too powerful. He has a lot of really annoying moves. He actually has an AoE move. It's not really much of an AoE, but he goes between both of your characters, and he spins around and, you know, just hits both of you. So he also eventually learns the ability to channel, and channeling can be taken care of by either farting on the enemy or stunning the enemy. So, which we're not going to be farting on him, we're just going to be using, of course, the other one. Shit. Also, I recommend going with Butters for this fight because of holy damage. Also, just focus on the boss. Don't worry about the other enemies because they're pretty much just kind of pointless. Oh yeah, we're going for Rochambeau. We're going for the stun. So, they tell you to use mana to defeat them, but you can use stun because they can't really do anything when they're stunned, and it works. And bam, there we go. So yeah, we ignored armor on the second hit, which is nice, and then we're going to finish him off. So, relatively easy boss, actually. So what happens after he channels is he calls your parents, and I don't exactly remember what the hell that's supposed to do. It's been so long since I've actually, last time I played this game anyway. Not in comparison to like my last playthrough of just trying all this stuff out to begin with, but I mean like my actual physical last playthrough before I started doing this type of run. Also, before you leave, make sure you come up to this and you can grab the Mace of Restoration. This is like the last time, first and last time I ever really checked any of what the stuff did. And if it turned out, of course, it was something I couldn't use because it heals you. So, pointless, you know, it's whatever, it happens. So now we have Craig as a friend, yay. We broke Craig out of Detention, and that is the end of the first dungeon. And at that point, I was thinking like, oh, do I want to, you know, cut it off at there? But I was like, nah. So I make my way to the Giggling Donkey and pretty much ended up there. So that's how it's going to work. I'm going to finish a dungeon. After I finish the dungeon, I'm going to go ahead and do some, like, you know, in-town stuff. And then after I do the in-town stuff, when we arrive at the next dungeon or inside of it or whatever, then I will end off the video, which is coming up really soon. Because there's not a whole lot you can pretty much do at this point, because I did most of everything I could have. I did, you know, the city walk, side quests, you know. I didn't really finish Jesus yet. I haven't finished his quest yet, I don't think, at this point. I think it takes me a bit. I haven't done his summon. I don't even remember if I even did, you know, Mr. Slave. I haven't finished all the kindergartners either, which, by the way, when you finish them, you get 6 branch, which is nice. And there's also the Christmas critters, which you can find when you go to the forest. We have Dragon Shout, so we can actually make our way there if we wanted to, but yeah, so now I'm just checking stuff. I'm just, you know, just diddling around, seeing what I can equip, what I can't equip, that type of thing. Nothing, I don't think there's anything special here. I just unequipped stuff and then changed up. I think we actually got to rank up. I think we're now like It's not King Douchebag. It's something else. What are we, like, Corporal or Commander Douchebag, I think it was. I can't remember. But anyway, you can look at the stats. I don't remember what I did dead offhand. So just look at what the stats give you and all that other stuff. And you can kind of figure out most of that from there. Most of your fighter stuff gives you just like, oh, it gives you armor or it gives you, you know, more damage depending on your armor. That type of stuff. Nothing crazy, but it works for what it is. It's nice class. It's pretty basic, but it's the first one. So anyway, that's practically about it. There's nothing left I can really do besides just check out clothes. So I'll see you guys in the next episode, which will be the Giggling Donkey Dungeon. As always, take care, everybody.